Good morning, good day, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Dean White, Blind Visioneer, the host of the Real Talk podcast, where everyone issue seriously matters. Thank you for making yourself available to view this Real Talk. But before we get into our discussion, let's have a word of prayer. Holy, wonderful, and compassionate Father, Lord God of hosts, we humbly come before you this day to give you the thanks, the honor, and the praise, to thank you for life, to thank you for everything you have done for us so far and what you continue to do. We ask that you forgive us of our sins, transgressions, and iniquities against you. Oh my God, I ask that you continue to cover every man, woman, and child under your blood. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Now, guys, I am here with episode 68 of the Real Talk podcast, where everyone's issue seriously matters. And I must say, guys, when you come to the channel, please remember to subscribe, to like, to share, to put me in your WhatsApp to tell everyone all around the world about this young or old man, blind visioneer. Name is Dean White. Channel name Blind Visioneer. So it is Dean White Blind Visioneer. Now, I am going back into a bit of my life story, and this is because of something that I have observed happening in this beautiful island of Jamaica. And I just want to let you guys know. In the year 2000 to 2001, I remember that I had to make a life changing decision, and I had to start thinking about my future, where my life was headed, and what I need to do in order to be where I am at presently. Now, I must say, before I go any further, I thank God every day that He has given me the ability to think, okay, to sit down and speak and reason with myself and to make wise decision that continues to benefit myself and family members down the road. Now, today I want to speak about acquiring and, you know, getting your own home and also leaving from where you were to where you can be or where you are at presently. Now, I must say that in our economy these days, a lot of persons do not own their own home. A lot of persons are more comfortable with paying rent. Okay? Based on my investigations and persons that I have spoken to them paying rent is way better than acquiring your own home due to the fact that when you acquire your own home and you have to pay for your own house, you have to pay things like land tax, life insurance, peril insurance, and in order to acquire your own home, you have to at times purchase the land, pay things like surveyors identification report, pay things like quantity surveyors report, pay for your plan, you have to clear the land, do your excavation, and all that. There's a lot of work that goes into purchasing your land and building your own home. Because of that, a lot of persons find it easier to rent than to go ahead to build their own home. Now, you and I know that yes, it might be easier to rent, but what I was looking at when I decided to start building my own home was the fact that I was now a family person. And as a family person, I wanted to make sure that if I should die or passed away today or tomorrow, I would have left something behind that could benefit my wife and children or my family members in such a way that I can know within myself that while I was on the face of this earth, I contributed in some way, shape, or form. When I left this life, I did some good that benefited someone else. And I also wanted to know that I did not go through my entire life working and earning and did not have anything to show for it at the end of the day. I must let you know that to me, a house or an home that a person might construct or build for themselves is an investment. And from time to time, as a homeowner or a person who owns your own house, you find out that at times you have to put your own special touch on your dwelling. When I say your special touch, from time to time you find out that you or I might start doing your own work at home due to the fact that from time to time when you hire persons to do the job, they do not do it according to your satisfaction or my satisfaction. And you have to now go all over again and do the thing according to yours or my specification. Okay, guys? Now, I must tell you something before we get into this aspect of our conversation. Now, I must tell you that I do not want to do one long video. So, I might have to do episode 69 of the Real Talk podcast, where everyone issues seriously matters with the same topic. So this might become a part one and a part two of a discussion that I must tell you will be very interesting. Okay, understand. While having relations with many females that I really started caring a lot about, I was living at my father's house. Now, a few things happened to me while living at my father's house. And I must tell you that those incidents caused me to be someone that decided that, listen, I will not continue to live here because at that point I realized that it would not work out for me living with him. Now, every man or every father love the idea that their son has females, okay? And my father, I thought to myself, was no different. But what I realized that at times when I invited any female or even spoke to any female that my father knew or was aware of, he was always trying to get sexually involved with the females that I was involved with. I remember while working at WAF, Kingston WAF, with a certain security company, that I was pursuing a specific female. She was short, dark, had bandy leg, and she was a very attractive female. And I was thinking of how I would really put that girl in the bed and properly sort her out to the best in such a way that she will never ever forget my name, you know? And I must say, we were working with the same company. And when I started letting her know what was my intentions for her, and she would normally laugh, and she then said to me one day, so I and you are involved. So you're telling me that I am your woman now. And I said, yes, you're my woman. You understand me? We had it that way, but we did not get sexually involved at the time. Now, we were getting along very well. We traveled together. We spoke to each other on a day-to-day basis. And I was taking it very cool, you know. Being a man, I wanted to make sure that I was not jumping the gun or running ahead with certain things, even though I told her that I really wanted to make love to her in such a way that she will not even be able to concentrate on the work or on the job that she was doing. I really meant it, but I wasn't rushing anything. Because at the time, I barely got any pay, and I wanted to make sure that when I was going to get the fluff, I was going to take her somewhere where we could spend an entire night, you know, eat some proper food, watch some cable TV, enjoy ourselves maybe 2 or 3 times if it's possible, then bathe and get back to work. So I was really putting everything into plan, saving and doing everything. I remember that one day she came to me and said, if I know someone by a certain name. And I told her yes. And I asked, why did she ask? And she said, the man has been pursuing her. Every day he would give her lunch ticket. And he made her know that, oh, he wanted to, you know, deal with her a certain way, you know, whether it's his ways or otherwise. I must tell you that, guys, when she informed me of this, I said to her, well, he is my father, right? And we live in the area of Portmore. She immediately told me that she was going to return his lunch ticket and let him know that she was already involved with his son. Let me tell you something. When she did that, it did not go over well with my father. Okay? My father started a lot of stupidness. Okay? He was like, you know, and he was telling her what was going to happen from what was not going to happen. Okay? I realized that because of his behavior and the way how he was operating, he was willing to had the employers of the firm remove the young lady from the location or remove me from the location in order to make sure that our relationship did not go any further. He was also coming to me with certain arguments. Okay. I realized that I started talking to another female as well. And he also went to the female with argument, letting the female know that he wanted to have intercourse with her. And when the female informed him that I and her were sexually active because I was her man, he then came home and let me know that the female was a prostitute, and all she did was take people money and things, and me not fi deal with them gal they, and them gal they this that, and to really disrespect and tear down the female in the way that I would believe or see myself not having anything to do with the female. I must tell you that I did not avoid the female, and because of that, he started to take things through to a very, very different level. When he saw that the female refused its advances, and when he spoke to his employer, they did not pay his, complaint any mind. He decided that he was going to now take set on me at home, and he started disrespecting me seriously as his son, letting me know that mother have father have happy the child that have his own. Him no want a boy in him place, and this and all form of manner of evil. It became such a toxic situation that I started not going home. Even though my things were there, I started not going home. Time passed and we parted. Remember, because of his behavior, I stopped speaking to the first female, and the second female and I, relationship wasn't going well, and we parted also. I did not pay it any mind because I thought to myself that, listen, whether or not he was behaving in certain manner, leaving the female would have pleased him. But when his advance were rejected by the females, them, it made him more hungry and vicious at me. Okay? He decided to come at me both, you know, fire stick blazing, because he was now seriously upset with the fact that the females that I was involved with, he was not able to have them for himself sexually. I do not know if he knew before making any advance to these females that I was involved with them, but knowing my father, he might have seen me with them, okay, and wait until I left, because that's how he is. He's a very calculative person, okay. Now, when I met my wife, and it was a while after, and I decided that, listen, I was going to take my wife home to know where I live, meet my family, which is him, my father. I must tell you that it was a good deal of time after, but the moment he saw my wife, I realized that he fell in love with her. To prove my point, before I introduced my wife to my father, I lived at that home. right? I remember meeting, and let me tell you, meeting a female at Cactus nightclub. I met this female, sexy as sexy can be, and I was really into that female. And that female lived at TG at the time, okay? And I put that female on her taxi the night after giving her my address and my phone number. And when she reached home, we were corresponding on the telephone, and that female decided that, listen, I will visit you so that she can find out what the sort out is going to be like. I promised her that, listen, you don't have to worry because I am not someone who fails in that department, and I will prove myself as soon as you are here. When I told her to come, my father was not home and she was supposed to come. But for some reason, wherever he was, he had some issues with the persons that he were amongst, or he was amongst, and because of that, he came home. When he came home and he was in his room and I was in my room, the young lady came and she knocked on the gate. And when she knocked on the gate, he came out the room. When he came out the room and saw her, sexy and everything, he was like, "Who you want?" And she said, "Good day, sir. I am here to see Dean." And I must tell you, my father blew a fuse. Me don't want nobody on me what's it not yard. Hey girl, what you doing? Me who you know dirty? And he was classing the young lady. All man. When I heard what was happening, I came out to the door and I pulled the grill. And I hold on to the female and I turned her around and we walked away. And even when I was going down the road, he was like, "Yeah, walk away with woman, no come back, this, what's it, not, and all that sort of nonsense." I remember that that female was so embarrassed that she said to me, she is sorry she turned up at my house, and I explained to her that I was sorry she had to go through that, and I really apologize, and I walked her to the bus stop, put her back on a vehicle, and we did not speak after that. I remember also asking a female that I was involved with to bring a rum cream that I had purchased for his birthday and give him for me because at the time I was very busy at work and I did not get the time to go by. And she was very close by. And I asked her to drop off a rum cream at the house to give him for his birthday. And I remember after collecting that Bailey's rum cream, he put back that rum cream on my bed, stating that he no want nothing from no picnic. After that, I must say, I started staying away and he started complaining that him can't understand how him son have a house himself and him no want stay night and him rather day so desperate. And because of that I decided that All right, I was going to come back home. While at home, he did not bother to trouble me for a while. And I thought it was now okay when I met my wife to introduce my wife to my father. Now, I must tell you, as I said, the moment he saw my wife, he was in love. I remember that I did not know what he said to my stepmother. And my stepmother, who was not living there, came and did all her stupidness with her hobby and all of that. And she left. But after she left, he was hooked back to being Mr. Turbo again. I was lying one day in that room with my head resting directly on my wife's crotch. And at the time, she only had on her bra and panty, and I was in my underpants, and we were lying there, and the man bust open the room door. And when he saw us, he started quarreling, slammed back the door, and write all from a crap on the door, and keep telling my wife that he was not speaking to her, and me my deal with, because at this point, knowing that he had special feelings for my wife now, he was thinking to himself that disrespecting me and tearing me down in any way, shape, or form that he could would have made it available for him to now get involved with my wife. Now, understand, my wife was not someone who wanted anybody who was like a mouthpiece. She was more the type of person who loving, humble, compassionate, but she rather someone who could defend her to the max. Now, based on his behavior, I decided that listen, I was going to leave. I am not going to allow him to disrespect me anymore in front of my wife. And I was never going to allow him to reach the point where he would disrespect my wife. And I started thinking that I should have my own home. I remember started making plans, but at that point, I went to the National Housing Trust to speak to them about a home, and they informed me that there was nothing available because I did not have enough points at the time. Now, when they informed me of that, I decided that I still was not going to stay in that environment, cannot deal with the arguments, the quarreling, because my father is my father and my mother is my mother. And no care how unruly or bad I was, I would not harm my parents. I would rather to defend them against harm, but I would not be the one to inflict any form of harm upon my parents. So instead of staying around and getting myself in a situation that might cause me to have to defend myself against my own father, I decided that listen, movements time, lift up time. When I check, I only found a house available in Mountain View. It was right in the heart of the garrison, Jarrett Lane, GX Road, Rick Jam Road. I was now living at Rick Jam Road. The house was a very nice house. It was a very big bedroom that I rented, a bathroom, and a kitchen. And I took my things from over that house that my father lived, and I brought them there. While I was living there, my wife's house was close by her family house. And because she was also a very close knitted family person, you find out that most of the time when I was at work, she would go down to her family house that she grew up in. Okay. So from time to time, when I come home, she might not be there. She might be there. And sometimes, if she's not even there, and I go down to the family house, I would be down there and I would say, all right, when you guys ready, come up. And when I was leaving, the children would want to come with me. And I would normally just take them back up with me, go up, cook some food and make some juice and so on and so on. And I would, from time to time, have the children, even if my wife did not come up, the children were always there with me. Sometime when I was leaving for work, I left the big boy, with his sister, and I told him in the morning with the assurance from my wife that she would come home. But she did not like the area, okay? Even though when I was there, she was there also. And there was a time when the area became very hot. And when I said hot, it was like blazing hot, fire stick hot. Now, I was there with the children one day and she was supposed to come home and she did not. And I left the children in the house and I left for work. The telly was there, the cable was on, the fan was up, the food was prepared and everything. So if their mother did not come up, they could eat what they wanted, drink what they wanted, watch what they wanted, bathe when they wanted, brush their teeth, and all that. And the bed was there for them to sleep in because I really made preparation for them. Okay. Now, I left work and came down early in the morning. And when I came down and get into this yard, into this place that I rented and was there. Mother was not there at the time because she did not come up the night and the children were at the house alone. They were okay, but I did not expect that. Anyway, while there, I prepared breakfast. And after preparing breakfast, I was a bit concerned due to the fact that when I was coming in, there was a curfew in the area and no vehicle could drive through. And I had to walk from way up by Deanery Road up there to come down to where I live. I, while walking down, decided that I would not let myself open to injury due to the fact that there was police and soldiers along with heavily armed fire stick men all over the place. So while coming down, I stayed close to the walls and light posts, right? I tried to make sure I had something close by to take cover behind. Now, When I reached home, the children were there and I prepared breakfast and all that. And after preparing breakfast and so on, I was there and I heard the grill knock. When I heard the knock at the grill, I thought to myself that maybe even though the curfew was on and there was fire stick personnel all over the community, my wife might have come, you know, since she knew that the children was with me, right? So I opened the door, moved the curtain, and I stepped out, and instead there was two men. Now, guys, the two men that were outside, one was armed with a AR-15 and he had some magazines in his pockets, while another was armed with a very huge on fire stick. When I stepped onto the veranda, the children's moved the curtain to come out, thinking that their mother was the one who knocked the grill, and I told them, go back inside. When I told them to get back inside, the gentleman with the AR-15 said to me, "Wow, go on." So me there, no general. So the general said to me, say, "Oh, so them a try kill off the youth them at the community door. Boy, them a try murder we off for nothing at all, you know. Cause them kill the Dan and so we talk about it. Them want this and that, and you know." I said, okay, kinda hear the news, man. And I kinda did see the clip. But the clip when me see, from me see that clip, it come off a TV, me no see it again. And he was like, yeah man, so come in no man, want you out here, you know, because you need to come help we fight the battle. Me have one of them same machine you fear, you know. And he pointed at his AR-15. At the time when the gentleman said that, I looked at the man and I was there holding a reasoning with the man while the other young man was leaning on the wall. Now, based on how the design of the front of the house was, he was like leaning on the wall right by the kitchen window. I was on the veranda at the grill right at the front. So he was behind me. And I must say, I thought to myself that I need to be very careful right now. And I need to be very tactful when I refuse these people. I said to the gentleman, understand what you're saying, I'm a general, but right now, now we're able to help you mash the words there, you know. I want to see, I mean, the two juvenile alone there. Mother is not here, and me alone left have to take care of them. You see what I say? Alright, just a come off for the work. I'm a good half soon gone back on the work, so I not even know what me I go do. Because I could have to go back at work and leave them. The gentleman said to me, worry yourself, man, don't know you one away. Them covered, man. So I said, nah, but yeah, we go out there with you right, still. So when I said general, but that no mean say it's not possible one of the days. When I said that, the general said to me, beg you drink ice water. When he said that to me, now the children were peeping through the door jam. Behind the door there, that little space, they were peeping through that. And at the time I thought to myself, I eat this. I tell the man them no, and the man I make me know say, he might look at drink of water. And the water now in my fridge. So right now, me have got to tell him no again, and them are going to analyze me. But immediately, the Holy Spirit said to me, this way. I said to the gentleman, so I don't have no cool water inside there, but don't worry yourself, wait here, so. I have ice in the freezer. I'm going to deal with it and line up some water for the item. When I said that, I turned immediately. I didn't even wait on an answer. And I went inside the kitchen, opened the freezer, and took the ice out of the freezer. When I was taking the ice out of the freezer, I saw the young man with the hand fire stick looking through the window at what I was doing. Right? And I took the ice, go to the sink because the window is over the sink. Stab up the ice, wash it off, get two nice cups, put in the ice, catch the water, and carry the two something of water out there. And I also gave them the water and say, give me a minute there, I'm going to go back in for a container with some water, come back out. When them shake them thing and drink, I throw back some water in the glass again with the ice and gave them back again. Gentlemen, them drink the water, and I must say, after they drink the water, they gave me back the cups, right? Because at the time, I had some huge plastic cup, but the glasses were a bit too small. So I didn't take the glass because chipping the ice that I chip, I would have to break it down too small to put the ice in the glass. So I gave them the cups that I used, And when they gave me back the cup, I take the cup, I throw some water in the cup, and I shake it up 2 times before me even turn back in the house and me end up drink some water out of one of the cups. See me. When the man them saw that, they said, so you a soldier. I don't know where we link you. And I said to them, say, yeah man, they don't know me there still. And when I said that, I turned around and left them out there, looking around to make sure that when they moved, they were covered. I remember, when I did that, I thought to myself that if I was not happy that my wife was not at home any other time, I was happy that she was not at home today because the only thing that came into my mind to tell these personnel that I was not going to be able to fight this battle with them was that I was the only one at home with the children. The woman is not there. And I must say, they knew that I was telling the truth because they did not pursue. They did not even say, them are gonna come looking at the house or nothing like that. They allowed me to pull the grill and they stayed on the outside. They get their water, they get everything. It was not that I could have stopped them from coming inside the house. I could not have told them, don't come in or anything like that. Because in order to give them the water, I had to open the grill. The jug could not hold without the grill opening. I had to open the grill. And they realized that as one of the real garrison youth, I was not afraid to reason with them, to speak to them in a manner that was respectful. You understand me? And also, there was no hint of nervousness or cowardness in my voice. At the time, I realized that my wife hated the area, even though she lived at Norman Terrace, that was surrounded by Rockford and all these communities, Mountain View, all these communities. She hated the era of Mountain View. She was really afraid of that vicinity. And I went and rented a house in the heart of Mountain View and also became person a person that persons in the community reason with on a regular basis. Okay? Now, because of this, and I realized that she did not like the area very much, I started making preparation to move to another area. Now, I spoke to a young lady that was attending a church that I went to and met her, and she informed me that she had two rooms, one that she occupied, and the other was empty. And she stated to me that she was willing to give me the room, right? But she did not know if she could be there with me, knowing that I had a woman in the room that she was willing to rent me. Anyway, I and my wife had an arrangement, and not to disclose what should not be disclosed, the arrangement fell through, and I had to move by myself to the house where the young lady lived. And I was the one who started paying part of the rent, the light and water at that premises. I was living there alone with the young miss. My wife was at her house where she grew up, and so was the children. At the time, we, you know, was having a bit of issues, and I decided that let her do what she wanted. Now, the house that this young lady was living in, that I decided to pay the rent for, was not the best of house, because before I moved in, the young lady did not tell me anything about the property. But I wanted to move from Mountain View because my wife hated the idea of living there. And at one point, she threatened that she was going to make sure that she stopped her children from coming up there, even though the bigger boy didn't pay that any mind. He just came when he ready. At times, I and him was the only one there for weeks, you know, and I would just leave my key with him, and I knew that whenever time I left, he would be there, and when I came home, he would be there. Now, because she hated the idea of living there so much, I moved in with that young lady, and it was also closer to the location where I worked. And if I took that apartment, I would just have to walk to work and walk back from work. So it would not be costing me money to pay to go to work and come back from work. But while living at Mountain View, I had to pay fare to Halfway Tree or walk from Mountain View to Halfway Tree and paid something from Halfway Tree to Stony Hill and walk from Stony Hill to my place of work. And that was a very, very hectic. So it meant that I had to be leaving for work from sometimes 3 o'clock in order to make sure that I reach my work location on time. Now, I took the room with the young lady, and it so happened that we, got involved in a sexual relationship. And the house that we were in, it wasn't good any at all. The person that owned the house lived overseas. Her family members were the one that she instructed us to pay the rent to. The house needed repairs because the house had 3 walls, right? How it designed, you step up on the step, go through both front doors, and you were in the bedrooms. Then you go through 2 doors. One take you into the kitchen at the back. The other take you into the bathroom at the back. So there were 2 rooms, right, that you entered into as you go up on the step. And then when you went through those rooms, one take you into the kitchen, one take you into the bathroom. That was how the house was designed. But the 3 walls were burst open from roof come down to the floor. Even the floor that was cast on the ground was burst open. Now, at the time when I saw this, I said to the young lady that, hold on, um, your landlord, where is she? And she was like, the landlord was overseas. And I said to her, this need to be repaired, you know? Don't you see that the crack, you know, it's not a crack anymore. It is now a space that you could put a clothespin through, open up into the house. Okay, you could put one side of the clothespin through an area, and the floor was the same. And she was like, I spoke to the landlord, and she said she was going to do some repair, but she don't have enough money to do it as yet. When I look while I was there, the roof, all the wood on the roof, rot right through. And because of this, the nails that were supposed to hold the thing down was not doing their job. So every time the rain fall, because the nails were not firmly right drive into any board up there because the board rot, you find out that the house started leaking, right? And it was leaking very hard. I must tell you that in order to solve that leaking problem, we came up with an idea. So we went downtown and buy the biggest tarpaulins we could find. And I went up on there, I caught those tarpaulin, tied down the tarpaulin over the zinc, and make sure that it was fastened and secure so that when the rain fall, there was no water leaking inside of the house because through the tarpaulin, the water run off. Okay, it wasn't allowed to really stay up there to come under the thing. I started doing that while living there, but let me tell you something. After a while, when the sun take the tarpaulin got destroyed very quickly. The sun would dry out the tarpaulin and then breeze would blow the tarpaulin and it would be ripped, you know, and we would be back to square one. It so happened that I and the young lady that rented the place, I could not stand to be around her anymore. And we had a disagreement, and she informed me that she got somewhere in another area and she wanted me to come with her. But I decided that I could not go due to the fact that if I was to go, I would have to pay fare to go back to work again, and so on. And I did not want to go back to that situation because it would mean that I was now using money that I did not have to use. Okay, so she moved and I was left. I remember that I went back to my wife, who was now my baby mother at the time, and I asked her to please come and live with me, with my child plus her two children that I was growing. She decided that okay, she was going to come, and I went there with a truck and did everything, and we moved into the place. It had all these issues, but due to the fact that I wanted to just leave and walk to work, I wasn't allowing these issues to bother me. I started taking blocks up on that house top and put them at specific areas to keep the zinc for the building down so that it would not lift and allow any water to come into that building. Okay, while I was living there with my baby mother, now wife, and two children. Now, I split the rooms in such a way that I and my wife lived in one, while the other two children lived in the other room. And we had a baby in the room with my wife and myself. And I must tell you that we were there, and it was as if things were just getting worse. Now, guys, I must say thank you for coming to episode 68 of the Real Talk podcast, where everyone issue seriously matters. I am going to have to end this Real Talk presently because of the time constraint, but I will have to finish my discussion in episode 69 of the Real Talk podcast, guys. So I am just going to say to you, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for coming to the Real Talk podcast, where everyone issues seriously matters. And please come back to view and watch episode 69 to get the rest of this very excited information.